Hello everyone, my name is Lola Oguntokun. I am a job search coach, career coach and people operations consultant. I have around 20 years experience within the recruitment and people operations space. It's a very interesting time. When it comes to job searching, the market is so competitive. I've reviewed thousands of CVs, I've hired hundreds of people for a range of companies. I'm going to be sharing some tips as to why your CV may not be getting you an interview. Tip number 1, your CV looks like a Knickerbocker Glory. In case you don't know what a Knickerbocker Glory is, the Knickerbocker Glory is a fantastical ice cream dessert. It's very enticing. It definitely pulls you in. But your CV looking like a Knickerbocker Glory does the opposite. This isn't a hard and fast rule. This is just my opinion as someone who has looked at thousands of CVs. There is nothing like a simple black and white CV, i.e. white background, black text. Nothing more. As soon as you start to add colors, images, icons, a lot can go wrong. It can be very distracting. A lot of that takes up real estate as well. And as a recruiter, I'm just trying to get to the information I'm looking for very quickly. So if I can't do that because there are lots of distractions, or instead of you explicitly stating your experience, you've decided to put it in a chart form, yeah, it's off-putting. So keep it simple. The next reason could be inconsistent formatting. I talked about ensuring that your CV has a white background and black text. The font of that text needs to follow a certain format and it needs to be consistent. So what I have seen, for instance, is CVs where people have not paid attention to the font that they're using. So they start off with Times New Roman, middle way down, it becomes Arial, next part Trebuchet, next part Wingdings. I mean, it may as well be. You may be wondering, why is that an issue, Lola? Well, let's say I'm your manager and I ask you to write a report for me that I will be sharing with the board, or I'll be sharing with some other senior management. And your report has 4 different fonts on it. That's not a good look. It shows a lack of attention to detail. And if you care about what you do, you will care about the presentation. So the content, yes, is definitely important, but the way that you present that information is also just as important. And your CV is the first place that you demonstrate that skill. So double check your formatting, double check your fonts, make sure it makes sense. Again, keep it simple. No ridiculous shaped bullet points, just a dot, just a dot. Don't need arrows, stars, that funny kind of multicolored word bullet that has like a pink and blue and a line that looks kind of like noughts and crosses. With no, just a dot, just a dot. This third tip is spelling mistakes. Oh! I'm guilty of this. You can read your CV a million times and miss the most basic mistakes because your brain just wants to see what it wants to see. It happens. But that's why you've got the spell check. So please, please, please use spell check, double check grammar, just to make sure you've done the best that you can to ensure that the spelling is correct. Also, make sure it's set to the right country. So, for instance, if I am hiring for a company in the UK, it would be a bit off-putting if you're using like Z instead of S, where we normally use S instead of Z. So just pay attention to things like that. Another thing to pay attention to is the spelling of your company. Please just double check that the two line up. So spelling mistakes and your company name being spelled incorrectly shows a lack of attention to detail. And when it comes specifically to the spelling throughout your CV, it shows an inability to use the tools that are available to you. I feel like each one is actually connected. This is about the correctness of information on your CV. I talked about getting the spelling of your company name correct. Something that's super important is ensuring the dates on your CV are correct, one. And secondly, that information lines up with what's on your LinkedIn profile. So use the same job titles, ensure the dates are correct, that they're not overlapping. If they are overlapping, that you're explaining why in some context. When we look at CVs that we like, we'll always check the LinkedIn profile. And if something isn't quite right, you're on a minus. You're on a minus. Definitely double check the dates on your CV. You will not know how many times I've reviewed a CV for someone and the dates just don't make sense. Please make sure that the information on your CV is correct. Correct dates, correct job titles. Make sure everything lines up with your LinkedIn profile, because your LinkedIn profile is kind of the stamp of approval. This one is one that I'm always talking to people about, the length of your CV. And a reason why you may not be getting an interview could be because it's too short or it's too long. Now, I know there's a lot of information out there telling people, hey, your CV should be no more than 1 page, or it should be no more than 2 pages. Actually, your CV should fit your career history and ideally should not go beyond 3 pages. If you're a grad, your CV should be 1 page. If you've got 10 years experience, your CV can be 2 pages, and it can roll over a little bit if you're around that or over. It's just about ensuring that you are focusing on the relevant details in your CV. No one wants to see a 10-page CV. Yes, I have seen many a 10-page CVs. I didn't get past the 4th page. If you are an experienced professional who has quite a few years of experience under your belt, you do need to make sure that the details of what you've done are clear. If you're summarizing it with one line, as a recruiter, I can't tell what you did. And that is what I'm looking for. Having to call and then get that information and write it down and share that with a hiring manager is not the best use of time. So quite often we would tell you to update your CV. So make sure the length of your CV makes sense for the amount of experience you have, and make sure your CV is demonstrating the skills and experience you're trying to portray in order to get the opportunity. But this is a tricky one. This is one that I'm constantly talking to people about, especially those who have had quite a few years experience. If the content is good and the content is easy to digest, your CV will not be rejected because it's 3 pages. Those are my 5 tips as to why your CV may not be getting you an interview. If you've enjoyed these tips, let me know. I'll share more. There's a very, 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 very long list. I will be sharing more tips regularly. So stay tuned, subscribe, follow, do all the things to make sure you're notified as to when I put more information out there. If you do want to work with me, or you want to find out a little bit more about me, what I do, how I can potentially work with you and help you, please feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn and I will schedule in a call with you. I'm looking forward to talking to you soon. Bye.